Just a few moments here, showing that we're live. So, welcome everyone to episode 10 of season 4 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast, where we talk about the gaming industry from a business perspective. One of your hosts, Marcus Howard, joined by Davin and by Mario. Mario, introduce yourself, and then Davin, we're going to jump right into it.
What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well in rainy Jacksonville. So I'm not chop it up. But glad to be here, man. I'm suited and booted. We got the presidential debates. That's a bunch of clownness right there. But thanks for rocking with us today as we talk about esports.
I'm glad you said it, because
no good choices tonight.
None
shows. None
at all.
Lesser two evils. But thanks for joining us, Davin. Tell us a little bit about where you're from. Not core Atlanta, but you're in the Georgia area, right? Let us know where you're from.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on here. I've watched several of the episodes over the course of the last year, so it's great to just finally be on here talking to you two gentlemen. But my name is Davin Jackson. I go by DJax or DJax Alpha on social media, depending on where you follow me. I am originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And now I am a native of Suwanee, Georgia, north of Atlanta. So, I don't want to hear nothing about Suwanee. It's not Atlanta. I know we got that. We got that under control. But like I said, originally from Bridgeport, moved down here almost 8 years ago with my family, my beautiful wife and my 2 children. I am by trade. I work in cybersecurity as a penetration tester or an ethical hacker. And I am also the proud owner of a gaming center called Alpha Esports and Technology, which you can see here in the Suwanee, Georgia area.
So before we move too much further into that, man, we want to set up a match here, right? So Mario is here to redeem himself for the last couple of weeks, but his overall streak, he's a winning streak, right? So you got to watch out. Mario, if you'll set up your screen, I'll move it over here to the broadcast. Everybody who's tuning in, thank you for joining us live. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat, and let us know who you got for this match. It's first to 10 points. Mario versus Davin. Rock, paper, scissors, just like you remembered, except digital.
All right. So, Davin, you are a professional hack. Like, you get paid to hack stuff?
Yes, sir. I got one on you, but I originally started off in tech. Actually, we can go further back before that. See, look, I see what's going on now. You trying to talk me out of my game here.
Yeah.
So, I'm originally from Bridgeport. I guess you could say I've always been a techie. Like, it's going back as far as when I was younger, my grandmother used to let me just kind of take things apart and put them together again. And when I got a little older, what's going on, L Style? When I got a little older, I knew I wanted to do tech, but y'all know how it goes. There's not a lot of people who look like me in the field, and there weren't too many people who could, point me in the right direction. So I ended up going to the military, and I was an aircraft mechanic. I was actually an aircraft mechanic on the F-16 and the Stealth.
So you was first off, and the winner.
Yeah. So
you was Air Force.
Yep, prior Air Force.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Army,
so actually, let me read.
Guy, thank you for your service.
Thank you as well. You as well. So like I said, I was always, I always liked tech. I always had the hacker mindset of trying to figure out how things worked and try to put them together and take them apart and get things to do what they weren't supposed to do. Like I said, my earliest memory was like my grandmother's house. She used to have the old floor model TV that, once it died, it wasn't moving. So it was just basically a part of the house. So, So she, and I remember she got another TV, but the speakers used to work on the old one. So the first thing I tried to do was try to get the speakers to work on that one to come up. Like I said, when I think about it now, it's like probably wasn't safe because I'm pretty sure the electricity was still plugged in. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Hey Ty, what's going on? Molly Wop, JT, what's up? So like I said, so I always used to do that. And actually, I would say my very first hack, and we can get into this later, but my very first hack involved Dragon Ball Z and the Sega Saturn. So, but yeah, it's a long story. Actually, not that long, but we'll, like I said, we'll touch on that. But like I said, you know, I always knew I was technical, but when I got to high school, you know, there was no spaces there for me, for people who look like me. And you know, it was the inner city, so they didn't even probably have the resources like that anyway. So like I said, you know, tried my hand at a few things, went to the military, was an aircraft mechanic, came out, still didn't think I was like qualified or smart enough to do this stuff. And I tried my hand at a few different things. And if it wasn't for my wife, who after I had a situation with another job, who was like, you know, if there was something you would really like to do, what would it be? And I'm like, I always liked tech. I just didn't think I could do it. And I definitely didn't want to go back to, I wasn't trying to go to college. I had a daughter on the way, and I'm like, I kind of need to, you know, it's my money and I need it now type thing. So
JT Wentworth.
Right.
Wentworth.
So it was like, you know, so I did some research for about a week or so, and then I realized that you could do certifications. So I actually got a job at Circuit City. I was a fire dog technician doing the home theater systems, and one day the PC guy quit. And I was just studying for my A+ certification. And I remember going up to the manager saying, hey, okay, well, instead of paying another person, just give me like $2-3 extra. And when I'm not doing home theater installs, I'll work the PC bench. So I would bring my A+ book with me while I was working on the PC bench to learn all the components and look at it. So I used my job to basically be like on the job training.
Some more hacking.
Yep. You know, always trying to hack your way through, right? And then you know, Circuit City went out of business after the first recession. I started working at a cable company doing their IT, so their network internet support, and that's when I started getting my Network Plus certification. So I did that as well, and then got my Security Plus. I worked a couple other jobs there, and I started working at a school system in Shelton, Connecticut. And that's where I got introduced to cybersecurity, really, because, you know, we got hit with ransomware a couple times. There were a couple other issues, and I remember going, okay, I want to know why we're so prone to getting hit all the time. So I did a bunch of research, came across doing like vulnerability analysis and vulnerability scanning. And then one day I was actually at the InfoSec Institute. Shout out to, no, not InfoSec Institute. I was at another school, but I came across this thing about penetration testing, certified at ethical hacking. And I was like, oh, wait, what is this? Did a deep dive, and I was like, wait, I can hack legally. I can, you know, pick locks. I can hack computers. I can do all this cool stuff that I used to see on TV, or maybe even done a little bit back in the day. Sign me up. Drove down. I remember I drove down to Washington, D.C. for about a week for an ethical hacking boot camp. I met the great Keytron Evans, who's at InfoSec Institute, or InfoSec now. Shout out to him. He's still like a mentor to me to this day. Even if we don't speak all the time, I still look up to this man. But that was the missing piece that I needed, because I remember sitting before the class, and like, you know, you had people who worked at like the FBI, and you had some other people there, but I'm still like one of the only people of color in there. And I remember going, I just wasted my money. I don't belong here. And then like 9 o'clock comes in, and this black man walks in, and he's like, all right, y'all, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna do this. I want one rule: if don't try to hack me, because I will get you back, you know. And it's Keytron. And I was like, I remember going, okay, yeah, okay, that, you know, it's cool. And I remember him not only teaching the class, but him actually, you know, sitting with you and working with you. Like we would do the camp. So, you know, boot camps would be like all day. But then we would do labs and hands-on stuff at night because he was like adamant on getting the hands-on skills, and he used to sit with us. So we would be there till like, you know, midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, and get up and do it all over again. And like I said, I remember leaving there, driving back from DC, just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Went home, built my own hacking lab, built, you know, grew my skills a little bit more. And then it was just off to the races from there. So now, like I said, I've been doing that now I've been in tech for 20 years, but I've been doing pen testing and ethical hacking now for a little over 10 years now. And then, like I said, around last year, I decided the next phase of my career was, I know I wanted to basically, you know, follow in his footsteps and do the teaching stuff, but I wanted to engage the younger demographic, especially the kids of color or underserved communities who may not know that this is an option for them, but they have it. They just don't know they have it, right? That's kind of like how I got into it. So that's where I started looking up esports and gaming and looking at the transferable skills, because that's mainly what it is. A lot of the tech field, everybody, I call it demystifying the aura around tech and cybersecurity. Everybody thinks that it's like this highly super technical brainiac job, and don't get me wrong, it is technical. There is some brainiac parts to it, but a lot of it you already have the skill set, you just don't know it, or you don't know how to bring that out of you. And I want to use gaming as the cheat code to help engage in those conversations, to teach those essential skills and those transferable skills, and highlight that in these kids. Because for me, what I've seen is, it's not so much of a technical issue, it's a confidence issue, right? They don't think they can do it. They don't think they can be in that seat. They don't see people who look like them doing it. Right. And now once you talk to them and you break it down for them, it's like, once that light bulb hits, teaching them the skills is easy. Especially, you know, you're a PC gamer, teaching the skills is easy. It's just getting you to believe you can do it. So that's been my mission for like the last few years now. Like I said, I've jumped around a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty much where I am now today. So
how many times a day does like a big company get hacked? Is it like 5 times a day, 100 times a day? Like I heard like something crazy, like Microsoft gets hacked 400 times a day. It's like, how is that possible?
Well, so when you say hacked, I mean, it's not so much of how much they get hacked. It's how many times they get attacked, or how many times someone's attempting to attack them. And the saying tip usually is, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And actually, it's not even a matter of when, it's when you find out. Because on average, I think it's almost like something like almost 200 days before they realize they've even been hacked. If you look at some of these cyber attacks, the malicious attackers were sitting on the systems for sometimes months, if not years. Okay, I don't want to name the one of the big cyber breaches, but it was in 2020, and when they did their their analysis and their root cause analysis and their forensic investigation and everything, come to find out there were traces of the attacker like from 2 years before.
Wow.
Now, I don't want to bash any companies, but some companies might even know that it's happening, but because of whatever, they don't want to freak out their investors or whatever. They don't want, they try to deal with it quietly, but sometimes it just gets swept under the rug. So to answer your question, yeah, people are attacking something every day. There's always a weakness. There's always something, right? When I say the one thing about being a hacker is you have this itch right here in the back of your head, and you have to know when to turn it on, when to turn it off sometimes, right? Because like for me, like when I'm in it, like I just look at things and then immediately my head starts going, well, what's that talking to? Is there an API or is there something going on here? Like you're immediately just trying to figure it out. And it's like you're looking, it's like, like we'd be on vacation and my wife and kids, like they've even pinged the face now. So anytime they start seeing me go, they're like, hey, no, right? Or they're like, we're going on vacation, leave the backpack at home, right? Because I have a backpack with like a bunch of like my with a specific laptop and tools and stuff like that. So if I have that, something's going on, that I'll probably be working on something.
All right, so we have a question. So Tal and my bad, Tal. He said, I wrestle with my confidence in the field, but personal image of hacking is the issue. The Fed got hacked. So what would you say with somebody like him that wrestles with confidence when it comes to the field of hacking? Hopefully legally, not illegally, but
everybody gets imposter syndrome. Your so-called experts and Ty and I have had this conversation before, but everybody, we all wrestle with imposter syndrome. The one thing I say is, you know what, you've put in the work, so you deserve to be here, right? Like I can't compare myself to someone like I don't know, like a Dave Kennedy, or you know what I'm saying, like these well-known cybersecurity people in the field, like they call them like infosec rock stars or whatever it is you want to call them. Like the moment you start trying to compare yourself to other folks, that's when the doubt starts to creep in. Like be confident that you're doing what you can and that you can control what you can control. Nobody does it overnight, right? I have several certifications. I have several successful hacks to my name. I don't have any like CVEs or anything like that, but I have, I've had a great career. But for every successful attack or exploit that I've done, there's probably like 50 to 100 that didn't go that well. So it's just a matter of, being confident that you're on the right path and sticking with it, right? Sometimes, one thing, again, that imposter syndrome, people want instant results, right? This isn't the field to get that, right? You're going to run into something that you're going to struggle with, whether it's trying to figure out a vulnerability, whether it's an exploit, whether you're trying to learn how to code, whatever it is, there's going to be a wall at some point. For me, like when I moved into the application security space, there was a specific exploit that I could not, or vulnerability that I just could not get. It took me like a year and a half to finally and I had to whiteboard it out, draw it and go, okay, there it is, but like I said, it's just imposter syndrome. And once you know that, like I said, we all deal with it. Just take a moment, acknowledge it for what it is, see where the hurdle is and figure out a way around it. Again, it's the hacker mindset.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Again, I know
you got questions, let us know. Go ahead, Mario.
And we're never gonna get, but we're talking about hacking, don't hack me. So like these big cybersecurity companies like Palo Alto, like CrowdStrike, do they really work then? Because if you're saying that everybody gets compromised, we just may or may not know it. Do they work, or they just kind of out there from a liability standpoint to keep companies happy that they got somebody watching?
Trying to see how many people I want to piss off tonight.
What do they call it? Security theater, right? Like your door lock isn't really going to protect your house.
I'll say this: the tool doesn't matter if the people aren't, aligned with the tool. Now, What do I mean by that? One, proper training, right? If the people aren't properly trained on how to use the tool, or they don't, or the company isn't paying for them for learning and development outside of that every 6 months, hey, watch this video on don't click phishing links. Congratulations, you're compliant for the next 6 months. If you're not actually investing in your people to learn and be aware of what to look for and what not to do, there's always going to be another breach. Security, I'll give you a story. And I won't name any names, and I won't say the name of the company, but I did a pen test years ago for a company. It's a Fortune 500 company, probably even Fortune 100 company, and they probably had better security than some government facilities I've been in. Right? the CTO of the company just bragged and boasted time and time again about how they didn't need half the crap that was in there, but they had the money, so we'll just buy it. I'm talking you had to swipe your badge to call the elevator. You had to swipe the badge to get to certain floors on the elevator. There was like there's locks and access points on everything. And he was just so like, and during the pen test, like, me and him, like I like to, with my clients, I like to develop like a friendship with them, because I don't want them thinking, oh gosh, he's coming in to hack our stuff and tell us that we look bad or that our baby's ugly or whatever. So I build a great rapport with them. So during the pen test, he would just come in and go, I bet you couldn't get in. I bet you could. I bet you, he just kept talking. I was like, all right, well, hypothetically speaking, if I were to do something like that, I would need you to sign off on a paper that said you would give me permission. Hypothetically speaking. And then I was like, and I'm like, and I'm not going to bet money with you, but there's a really nice steak restaurant in my hotel. And he just kept going like, whatever, I don't care. So the itch starts. And now I'm like motivated to get the pen test done. So I get the pen test done like a day and a half early. And I tell the guy, all right, well, I'm going to I'm going to fly back to Georgia and I'm going to write the report, and, nice meeting you, yada, yada, yada. Go back to the hotel. Next morning, I go to the building. I found a box in the hotel. Box was empty, but I go to this building and I'm carrying this box and I'm pretending that this box is like 300 pounds. Like I'm gasping for air. I'm like trying to like, I'm trying to like hold it up on my belly so I can reach for the door. And this lady comes by and she goes, oh my gosh, here. Beep. Opens the door for me.
Wow.
So now, thank you. Oh gosh, I put the box down and try to catch my breath. And where are you trying to go? I'm trying to get to the third floor. Beep. Calls the elevator. I pick the box. Thank you so much. Have a great day. All right. I get to the third floor. And again, the day before, I'm observing how the employees operate. So I know that at 9:15, there's a smoke break. Now, this building, you could either catch the elevator down to the floor to get to the designated smoking area, or you can walk across the bridge right here and everybody just hangs out in the parking lot, in the parking garage, and they smoke their cigarette or whatever, come back. And now they're literally right here back to their room. So I just wait. 9:50, and there's like a sitting area outside this door. So I wait. 9:15 comes. Sure, everybody makes a beeline to the parking deck. I walk right in.
Wow.
I sit in the CTO's office and wait for him to come back, because he's also one of the people who was on break.
Oh,
and
okay.
I put a text document on his desktop that said medium well. Right. So now he comes in and he's like, how'd you get in? How'd you get up here? And I said, it doesn't matter. The moral of the story, it doesn't matter how much security you have if people will always be the weakest link. Okay. And again, it feels icky. It makes you feel bad because, you're raised, mind your business. Don't be staring at people. Don't go in asking a whole bunch of questions. But now you're using people's nature against them, right? Yeah. I mean, if you see somebody struggling, you're gonna hold the door for them. If their hands are full, you're gonna let them through. You might clear a path for them. So it feels, but it's like, hey, so there's situations like that. So and like I said, I mean, there's a bunch of different stories like that. But again, it doesn't. So in that situation, it doesn't matter. you know, to answer your question, it doesn't matter what they have if the people aren't well trained or the people aren't equipped to do it. And then you also have companies who they sell a product and they may not stay up to date with their customers on keeping the product up to date. That's usually how vulnerabilities happen, right? So everybody gets annoyed when you have to update Windows or update your iOS or update your phone, right? But 9 times out of 10, there's an update in there, and what they're not telling you is because there's a component in there that's vulnerable that they need to patch because they know there's a security issue. So everybody who's like, I'm not updating my stuff, okay, don't. But then when someone gets into your stuff and now they're watching you on your camera, how this happened? I was violated. Well, you should have updated it. So
I'm about to update once we get done.
No, we got so many people tuning in. Shout out to Tam. Shout out to L Style. We got a question or a statement in from Bobby from LinkedIn. Actually, he's tuning in from Twitter. Says, or X, right? Cybersecurity principles should be taught in schools. It's 2025 already. And so coincidentally, you are already leading some of that conversation. But before you talk about that, we just backtrack a bit to certifications, right? You talked about like you didn't want to go the traditional university route. And I spoke to some students in Texas virtually today, and I was telling them, you know, a 4-year degree doesn't necessarily confirm that you know anything so much as it does confirm that you spent 4 to 6 years like getting work done and taking tests. And I said that as I pointed to, like you can see, you know, I got my degree back here, right? So I'm not knocking people who get degrees. I've gotten one, but it doesn't communicate as well as maybe a certification does. Right. So with that in mind, can you talk about how much time and money it takes to get A+ certified?
Look, don't get me to lying.
Or the most recent certification, you know, top of mind.
No, I mean, I think so the average CompTIA certification is probably somewhere around $600, right? And that's actually high from what it used to be. It used to be like $200, $300, $400, but now it's like I said, it's about, you know, inflation. Everybody's jumping into cyber sexy now, so everybody's up in their prices. I will say that it is definitely a fraction of the cost of a degree, right? So when I speak to parents about kids who may be interested in tech or cybersecurity, I don't want to knock college either, right? Like I have kids who may want to go to college. My thing is, if it's something that you want to, if you want to go to college for something that you have to go to college for, by all means go to college, right? If you want to be an engineer or a doctor or something like that, go to college. If you want to work in tech and cybersecurity and you want to kind of fast track your way to like senior management, go to college. Now they have scaled back on that over the course of the last couple of years with, you know, the pandemic and working from home and all of that, where now they say that they're not looking at college degrees for those high level jobs, but they still are for the most part. But if you're looking to get a solid footing in a career, some people can't afford to go to college. And I don't want to get into the politics of it all or whatever, but some of us would have to rely on things like affirmative action to help go to college. Well, thanks to the powers that be, we no longer have that option. So now you're going to have a vast amount of people who are qualified, but they literally cannot afford to do this. So what's the alternative? Well, the average college tuition is what? 45K a year or something like that. Okay. For about a third of that, you can probably get a good solid 5, 6, 7, even more certifications to get you started on your path. You can also take that same time, so the same 2 to 4 years that you would get till you're getting your associate's or your master's degree, bachelor's degree, you would also get doing your certifications, and depending on what you're doing in cybersecurity, getting hands-on skills, because that's something that's not talked about enough as well. You have all these people who are paper certified, but But a friend of mine, Tyrone Wilson, a few years ago on my own podcast, came on and said, "Hey, you can have all the certs in the world, but the keyboard doesn't lie." So you can say, you have all these certifications and you have this senior hacking cert, but if I put you in front of a keyboard and say, "Okay, go," and you can't do nothing, the certification is just like a degree. It's not. It's worth
the paper.
The paper it's written on. So what I tell folks is, and I'm highballing it by saying, so if the average college is 45, and we say take 15 and get you some certifications and some hands-on skills, what would you do with an extra $30,000? Because by the time in the same 2 years that you build that skill set, you can probably get you a job, and you can probably get you a job. And I'm not gonna be one of these idiots on here that's saying 6 figures in 6 months, but you can probably get you a solid job that's paying you somewhere 65, 75K, right? That's decent to start.
Yeah.
What could you do with an addition as a parent? What would you do with an additional $30,000 and your child already making somewhat of a decent salaries to start off their career, and it's only going to go up as they progress? And then the thing that they don't tell you is, as you're getting these jobs, the jobs will start paying for your certifications. So whether they reimburse you or they just pay for it outright, now you don't even have to pay for some of these certs anymore. So now you're actually saving that $15K that you were going to spend. You're probably saving, $1,000 here, $2,000 here. If it's something like a SAN certification, that's like $8,000-$9,000 a pop, you're probably going to save that. There's always opportunities for scholarships and grants and stuff like that. So this is definitely an alternative. So much so that the same government that, also allowed affirmative action to go away are now saying, hey, we'll actually help fund some of these schools to get these kids trained in cybersecurity and help them get jobs. Not only get jobs in the public sector or private sector, you can also get jobs, government jobs. A friend of mine, B, shout out to Bees, she is like the advocate for getting certified and then getting a government contract job that's going to pay you these high salaries. Now, imagine you're 18, 19, 20 years old, no real responsibilities out there just yet. And now you have these certifications, you get yourself a government job that's paying you, 100, 150K. And oh yeah, by the way, we're also going to have you go overseas and do this job overseas. And oh yeah, by the way, since you're doing that overseas for the government, it's tax-free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So these are all different opportunities. And again, you don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have a associate's, bachelor's, master's, doctorate. If you want to get it, cool, that's fine. But just something to think about.
So we see, and I might be jacking this up, but SEC Plus 701 was $404. So I guess it's more now. And what certification is that?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Security Plus. So that's another CompTIA certification. So when you're first starting out your career, like I said, CompTIA has a bunch of foundational certifications. So you have your A Plus, which is basically like, this is a computer, this is RAM, this is a hard drive, this is, then you have your Network Plus, which is the foundation of networking. So, TCP versus UDP, what's TCP IP and all of that. Then you have your Security Plus, and your Security Plus is the foundational knowledge of everything that's related to cybersecurity. And then from there, you can move on to, higher level certifications. But yeah, the Security Plus is one that especially if you're going to get into this field, I highly recommend everyone get. Again, especially if you're also going to look for government contracting jobs, the DoD 8570 or what is it, like 8130 some, I forgot what the new designation is for it now. They require you to have that certification for you to get a government contract job. So
we always like to kind of bring up AI. So how is AI playing a part in cybersecurity? Like, there's companies creating AI to maybe stop some of the malware that's out there, or really can AI help a person or a company getting hacked?
So AI is a cluster right about now.
Really?
And
I thought
and
AI was the big thing right now.
no
It's
no no
like
no
the
no it is the big thing, right?
Okay.
But I look at the race, the AI race. Um Denzel, I remember Denzel said this in an interview years ago. Denzel Washington. He said everybody's racing to be first. No one's racing to be right. Right?
Mm, mm.
I feel like what everybody's rushing to put these AI models out there. And no one's worried about the ramifications, right? Some people are putting AI stuff out there and it can be detrimental. Some people are putting AI stuff out there and the AI is vulnerable to the AI is vulnerable to getting hacked or exploited. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at what TikTok had an AI thing come out on their platform recently, and they had to scale it back immediately because it would do anything you told it to do. So now you had people saying, hey, take this video of me or take this picture of me and make my mouth move, but make it read Mein Kampf. Right. So now it's problematic. So everybody, but at the same time, I look at the opportunities that AI present, similar to like the cloud, right? So remember when the cloud was the big thing, everything was like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our jobs to the cloud, everything's going to the cloud, whatever. And it was like, but if you're one of these people who can position yourself to be someone like a subject matter expert, or someone who's just well versed in the cloud, you have an opportunity to capitalize off this. It's the same thing with AI. AI, everybody's looking at AI from one extreme to the other, right? Either people are completely terrified of it and don't want anything to do with it, or you have people who are trying to use AI so much that they're making it do things and they don't even know what the hell the AI is doing.
Yeah.
I'm on the side of AI can be a great assistant for what you're doing. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're a developer or you're a coder. Before I say that, if you're a developer or a coder, please do not put the source code of whatever application you're building in the AI model. Okay, I'm gonna hop off now. Now, anyway, but if you're a developer or a coder, and let's say you need a certain script written or something like that, and you tell the AI to build that one piece out for you. Okay, it'll build it out for you, but you know how to write it out. You just want to save some time. So now you're proofreading this. See, the problem is people are putting stuff out there and not even knowing what they're doing. And then when they get called to the carpet, like, okay, well, now it's time for you to show and prove. You're like, I don't know. But if you know what you're doing, you can look at because AI is not infallible. AI is not omnipotent and all knowing. It makes mistakes. It's learning, right? If you look at the LLM, it says you put in the prompt and it's training, it's learning, and it's getting better with each prompt. So that just like anybody else who's learning, you're bound to make mistakes. So there's an opportunity there. Now, do I feel like AI will probably get rid of some jobs? Absolutely. Yes. And it's unfortunate. But I also think there's an opportunity there for so many other jobs and so many other people to capitalize off of that. Go Pro Slow, yo. I know I saw that I meant to do that on Twitch. I just joined this stream. My fault. It says I was playing Smash Brothers Ultimate, but I'm not here. Clearly.
Next stream.
Yeah.
We had another. This is from a bit early in our conversation. How do you discern whether an update is good for the consumer or not? So I want to make sure we didn't miss that one.
if you use the application, if it's on your computer and you need it, update it. That's just my thing, right? Typically, what I usually tell people when they get a phone or they get a computer for the first time, you should harden your systems. Now, that's the process of looking at all the apps and going, oh, I don't need this. Let me delete this off my. How do I uninstall it? How do I remove it? Only have the stuff on there that you're going to use. One, it's going to reclaim a lot of space on your device, and two, it makes you more secure because just like anything else, if there's something there that you aren't going to use or something that you don't do every day, you're going to you're going to ignore it, and after a while you're not going to pay attention to it, which means you're not going to update it. You're not going to keep track of what's happening with it. So so to the consumer, if there's an, like I said, if there's an iOS update down, yes, and you have an iOS device, run the update. Now, do updates also come back with their own vulnerability sometimes? Yes, and then they have patches. It's just it's the price we pay for having shiny devices and fancy things.
But we could talk about AI and cybersecurity. We want to talk about your lab, your business. Let us know about your brick and mortar that you have, man. We have all these questions. We want to talk about you, not cybersecurity, man. All the time.
But it's funny, but the thing is, that's where it came from, right? Like going back to what I was saying before, like I am a big nerd or geek or whatever at heart, right? I grew up Saturday cartoons, anime, stuff like that, tinkering with things. But again, there was no space for me. I had, until I met a group of friends who also did it, but it was like our own little like secret society type thing, right? It was like, we don't talk about it like that at school unless it's like you were in that circle. And now you have so many kids who are just like that, and they're looking for that space, right? Again, another quick story. Like I said, going back to this, when I was like 15 years old, I used to have to go to Chinatown in New York City to get the Dragon Ball Z tapes, right? There was no Cartoon Network. There was no Crunchyroll. So we had to get the VHS tapes, and you had to know somebody who knew somebody who could get it dubbed on the VHS tape. So you get like 3 episodes. So anyway, a buddy of mine and my catch a train, go to Chinatown to get like the last 3 episodes of the Majin Buu saga. And guy goes, hey, there's this game called Dragon Ball Z Legends on the Sega Saturn. And we're like, it doesn't exist. You're lying, right? We're older than Google, right? so it wasn't in the household like that. So now it's sitting in our brain, like, again, there's that itch. So now we get back to Bridgeport. We have to stop at the library because now we need to get on the library computer to go on the internet to see if this thing truly exists. Lo and behold, yes, there's a Japanese Dragon Ball Z game. Well, we have an American Sega Saturn. So how do we get it to work? Well, long story short, we figured out that if you could pop the door open, if you put a legitimate game disc in there and let it load up first, as it's booting, you could pop the door open, take the disc out, and then you could put a burn disc in there. Problem was, the moment you pop the door, all operations halted. So you had to trick the Sega Saturn into thinking the door was always closed. So another buddy of mine went to a pawn shop, found a Sega Saturn, took it apart. There was a button underneath the door hinge. So now we just took like a paper clip or whatever, moved the paper clip, and now we push that button down. So now, boop, either that or we propped it open with and kept it propped open with a toothpick. So now the game disc would load, pop the door, boop, put the next one in. So now we're playing this game, but then we were like, oh wait, hold on, we know how to burn games now. Right. But anyway, like I said, so and like I said, and now think of that with that mindset at 15 years old, and I didn't think I was good enough to be into tech at that age. So so now fast forward, right before the pandemic, like I said, I was looking at ways to try to engage younger kids and underserved communities. And my son was actually in an esports program. And while they're doing their Fortnite practice, I'm watching the practice, and I'm just watching as the coach is talking. I don't remember the exact word to use, but whatever it was, something popped in my head. I'm like, this is the equivalent of the 5 phases of an ethical hacking assessment or a penetration test, right? So a pen test, there's your enumeration or information gathering, there's your vulnerability scanning and analysis, your exploitation, your post exploitation, and then finally you have your report writing. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, when you jump off the bus and you land and you're getting your initial whatever, that's your information gathering phase. As you move around, you start to look around at, your favorite points of interest. And as the houses, you might see some houses destroyed, or you might see some treasure chests opened up already. You're surveying the land. You're doing your reconnaissance. You see someone off to the corner. Maybe they built like a 90 or something. They're off to the corner. You pull out a long range something to poke to pick away at them. After a while, you see blue number. Now they're cracked. Well, now they're vulnerable. So now you just did your vulnerability analysis and you confirmed that the vulnerability exists because you heard that crack. So now you go up closer to them, you get something else that will help solve the problem that you're trying to solve. And that's your exploitation phase. You eliminate, now you solve that problem. They're no longer on the board. What do? They drop all their material. Now that's your loot. So now you're elevating your privileges, you're pivoting, you're moving on, and then you start the process all over again. And then at the end of the match, depending on whatever happens, you get your stats. You get how many eliminations, how many assists, or whatever. That's your report. So I was like, I wonder how this would go if I actually did this in a presentation. So I created a slide deck, and I gave it at I presented it at a cybersecurity conference that winter, and it was a huge hit. And I remember going back to the esports coach saying, hey, I would love to talk about the transferable skills and how we can do something like this full time. And he was like, great. Next week, world shuts down. Nobody's doing anything. Kids were doing it remotely, but they struggled to do it remotely. So now years later, I run into some of the parents, and they were talking about how their kids, were really messed up behind COVID. We always talk about how COVID messed us up, but we very rarely talk about, how it affected the children. Yes, we talk about that, it might have hurt them in school. It might have made them less social, but we don't really talk about the mental element of it. Yeah. And the one that struck home for me was a kid that my son was really close to. They talked about, he really had it hard, and, he had to go talk to somebody. And I guess at that time he revealed he had no friends. And they were saying, you have tons of friends at school. And he's like, no, those aren't my friends. The kids I did esports with every Saturday that I would hang out with, those were my friends. So now that led me to have other conversations with my son and some other kids. And they were like, yeah, we could be our authentic selves amongst each other. We got it. So that made me think of the train trips to go get a Dragon Ball Z tape, the hanging out with my friends and, nerding out and stuff, or having our own inside jokes that are references to like anime, but it was like our own thing. Right. Yeah. And it was like, okay, so how do I bring that back? Because I was originally thinking about doing it online. I'm like, no, it has to be in person. Right. I grew up in the arcades. I remember my earliest memories, Saturday morning, I'm getting up doing everything I had to do so that my mom would give me my $5 so I could catch the bus to go to the arcade, put my quarter on the machine and be like, I got next. So, I wanted to bring that back, and I wanted to bring it back and have that social element, give the kids a safe space, and also, again, talk about these transferable skills and things that we can do. So that's how Alpha Esports and Technology started. Like I said, it's been a crazy ride these last 18 months, but, I know it sounds cliche and cheesy sometimes, but it's like, I look at the few kids that basically like my day ones, and I look at who they are now versus who they were when they first walked into my open house last year. And I see some who came in and, you know, didn't want to talk to nobody. And now, you know, they're a part of my team. They're, you know, they come in, they trust me. Like I look at them like they're extensions of me. They're my other kids, you know. But just watching how they grow and watching, you know, them come out of their shell. And again, it's gaming. So that's just, you know, that's how that's kind of just been my mission since then, is like, how do I replicate that? How do I get them to do that? How do I expose them to the ecosystem? You know, because you have some kids who are really good at gaming. You have some kids who are, and the same kids also are really great at social media, but they don't put the two together to know how to monetize it. Right. I know a kid who had like 100,000 followers and loved playing Fortnite. And I was having a conversation with him. I'm like, do you do custom maps on Fortnite? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, let me ask you a question. If you were to do something on Fortnite, and let's say you went on YouTube or social media and said, hey, I'm going on Fortnite at 7 p.m., click this map code, or put this map code in and come play with me. Do you think you can get 10% of your followers to go on? He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Right. I said, okay, so that's almost 10,000 people. Do you know that if you have that much traffic coming in on a regular basis, that Epic Games will pay you?
Right.
You know what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I have another kid who, you know, at some point he was like, he's 16, but he's made $12,000 playing Fortnite already.
Wow.
But I know a 10-year-old girl who could wipe the floor with him, but she doesn't know that you can make money doing Fortnite. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I look at it like, if I have to be that puzzle piece that needs to bend and contort to get everybody to put the pieces of the puzzle together, then sure. And also, while you're at it, let me talk to you about what you can do outside of gaming. Let me talk to you about your career. And I'm not just someone blowing smoke up your behind. I lived it. I'm living proof that it can be done. You know what I'm saying? And my goal is to get you there faster than it took me. Right? Like, the only regret I have in this field is that I didn't follow my gut and do it sooner. I felt like I had to be better than everything, and I had to do and I had to know all of the things. And I probably could have started my career 5 years sooner, and who knows where I could have been. But God don't make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here now, and I feel like if I wasn't, if I did do it sooner, maybe I wouldn't have decided to have this moment of clarity to say, I need to be that piece. I need to be that missing piece. So, so like I said, so that's pretty much been it. And like I said, and I still get to hack stuff from time to time. I still get the itch. Now I'm just kind of living the best of both worlds. I just, one day at a time.
All right. So we had a couple, and I got a question. One said, should cybersecurity be characterized by demographic versus broad umbrella? Example, what cybersecurity means to a Black family looks different than cybersecurity concerns of a Fortune 500 company.
That's actually an interesting question, and I actually built my cyber safety course. I created a cyber safety 101 course, and I built it for 3 different audiences because so for example, my cyber safety course is I have one that's geared to teens, I have one that's geared to adults, and I have one that's geared to senior citizens. Right? Because the attack vector is different. I mean, there's a lot of similar attack vectors, but there's also some that are more that they're more prone to doing, in that demographic. But yes, cybersecurity means a lot to a Black family versus a Fortune 500 company because, or just your everyday person in general, because they look at it like we don't have those type of assets. right? Or we don't have those type of resources that a Fortune 500 company has. I'll put you in on a little secret. Some of the Fortune 500 companies don't want to spend the money on cybersecurity because they're like, it's not in the budget. But as soon as they get hacked, guess what? They're going to back the Brinks truck up. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But yes, like I remember one of the arguments that led me to leaving the school system was they kept saying, we don't need that type of security in the schools, right? Like, and I'm like, yeah, you do. Medical records, this was when parents were just starting to like put, pay electronically for their like their lunch money, so financial data, PII, social security numbers, like, what are you talking about? But again, that dreaded word, budget, came up, and it's like, well, we don't have the budget to do that. And I was like, okay, well, fine. So I actually started working overtime to do it. But then they started looking at how much money I was making in overtime, and they were like, nah.
We got a follow-up question to that. It says, but how do we convince parents? But on that note, I used to work at IT at Georgia Southern University. I told you, I went to school right outside Savannah, and I was in business and finance IT. And I remember very vividly that I had to go do like a system upgrade. I was doing some random audit at the post office on campus. And I opened this drawer, and we used to have, like, everybody had student IDs, right? Everybody had student ID cards. At the time, when I started there, they immediately changed like the next year, but our student IDs used to be our social security numbers. And then they shifted it to like a 900 number. But when I was working, so when I was a student, they changed from social security number to random ID number. And then when I was employed there in IT, I'm working in the post office, I opened this drawer, there is a book like this thick, right? And it is every student's name and social security number.
Look,
I didn't even know it was in there. It was just like a binder full of social security numbers.
Yep. And I'm gonna get to that question about convincing the parents, but how many people still write their passwords on a post-it note and put it underneath their keyboard, or have it under their monitor, right? Look at a few, I mean, as much as a few years ago, was it T-Mobile? I think that everybody's account number was their telephone number. So you had this, and then after that, it was their telephone number. So now this person was just like, all right, he just started iterating the numbers of the telephone number, and what did he stumbled across? Government officials. He stumbled across like high powered individuals, right? So these are, and again, so sometimes everybody thinks that these hacks, quote unquote hacks, are, and I hate when the news says it, because the news be like, it was a sophisticated attack. I'm like, dude, they clicked the link. Right? So it's like, they're like, it's a sophisticated attack. I'm like, honestly, it's just it take APIs, right? Like I have two, and I'm not plugging it, but I do have two LinkedIn courses on API security. Most of the major attacks that happen with APIs literally takes the curiosity of a 5-year-old. Like, what's this button do? What happens when I do this? Right? So if this says user, what happens if I take out user and put admin? Oh, crap, I have access. Oh, the user ID is 101. What happens if I do 102, 103, 104? Sometimes it's literally that simple. Wow. So now to the question about convincing parents, if you're talking about cybersecurity, or even gaming for that matter, money talks. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? And I'm glad that they started doing it now, because a year ago I was literally getting like hands put in my face, not like fighting, but like I remember I was at a parade and I was like, hey, let me talk to you about my center, blah, blah, blah. And parents were like, man, get up on my face, right? But now I was like, okay, cool. So now I started putting numbers behind it. So now I can go to a parent and go, you won't let your child do esports, but you'll let them do football or basketball? Yes. Why? Oh, well, it teaches them leadership and communication and team building and critical thinking. Okay, here's a study. Here's a medical study that shows that gaming, when done the right way, can do the same thing. Okay, but it's not done in schools. Actually, it is done in schools now. It's done in high schools. It's actually going to be starting to do it in a lot of elementary and middle schools. Yeah, but you can't go to college for it. As a matter of fact, you can. In 2022, $23 million in college scholarships were given out for esports. In 2023, $16 million was given out. In fact, 46% of esports scholarships go unclaimed because most people don't know they exist.
Wow. I didn't know
So
that.
now what's your excuse? So you know, that's the one thing you have with parents. And then it's like, what are your fears? Well, gaming is toxic. Well, this is why we have a center that's a safe space. This is why we do stretches and exercises and things like this before they start gaming. This is why we have breathing exercises and we talk about things like mental health. And have these, you know, these lecture sessions before they start gaming. I had a father come to me the other day and he was like, I feel like I'm losing my son because we're fighting over the game. I'm telling him to stop, and he's like, Dad, you don't understand. This is like my getaway. And I'm like, if he's telling you that, not only do you need to listen to him, you need to do it with him. Now, you don't necessarily, I don't care if you don't like the game. Let him talk to you about it. Let that be the bridge that gets built. So then it leads to other conversations. Right.
I like
my like what I do with my esports programs, I tell them, like, I go to the parents and go, hey, look, I told them some of their homework for the week is to come explain to you what it is they're doing. It, you know, even if you're not interested, hear them out, hear her out, listen, ask questions, because now that's getting them to go, okay, you get me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So so again, that's so I don't know who the LinkedIn user is, but yes, that's one way to convince the parents. You do still have some parents who are like, gaming is a waste of time. Like my mom used to say that all the time. And I remember I took her to a esports event and I showed her the stuff, and we looked at the prize pot for some of the tournaments, and I'm going, remember all those years? You told me that, you know, like I said, you know, the gaming industry is more lucrative than the film and music industry combined.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? Like, one of my favorite scenes of this year was the Rainbow Six Championships in Brazil. They filled out a soccer stadium. You had 10,000 people losing their minds for the second round of a Rainbow Six tournament. How's the sequel injection from the Bible? Yeah, I know that sequel injection comic, but yeah, but that's the yeah.
All right, so we have another question. What does the future of cybersecurity look like with respect to finance via cryptocurrency?
The same as it looks like with respect to health records or your other personal information. You have to do your due diligence. You cannot trust these companies to say they're going to secure your stuff.
Not your keys, not your keys, not your cheese.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to secure your stuff. At best, they're going to send you a letter and say, hey, my bad. Here's this link to credit monitoring for the next 2 years. All right, you good? Okay, in a couple of years, they're going to be a class action lawsuit. You're going to get a postcard. You can scan it and get like $8 on your PayPal.
Yeah.
They don't care. The risk outweighs the reward. I mean, the reward outweighs the risk. When you have companies like Facebook who are constantly getting caught for selling your personal information to other people, and they're paying fines in the millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but they're making billions by the month.
Yeah,
that's chump change. So we have to be more vigilant. We have to be more knowledgeable and do what we got to do to protect our stuff. So you want to protect your finances. Again, security, the more secure, the less convenient.
Yep.
Right? Everybody wants things to move fast, right? You can't do that. So stop using, you can use your thumbprint, but maybe you have a second level of authentication. Do multi-factor authentication, have a password in something else. Use a Google authenticator or something. If you have crypto, put it in a cold storage wallet, not a wallet on Coinbase or whatever. Right. And this is coming from someone who used to work at Voyager, and you don't want to know the things that I've seen there.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's an offline story right there. I want to know about that.
but we have to do it. We can't rely on these banks. We can't rely on these governments. We can't rely on Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, or any of these tech billionaires. They do not care. Right? I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to rage against the machine here, but the best, no one's going to protect your stuff better than you. No one loves you more than the people in your inner circle, and you should protect them at all times. So, guard your data with your life.
That's awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. We're rolling up on an hour, man. We want to respect your time. We did get a question about the CIA triad. I don't know.
The CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Okay.
So all security is based on the CIA triad. If one thing in the CIA triad is broken, it breaks everything. Right. So confidentiality is basically, if you don't have access, mind your business.
Yeah.
Integrity is, if I send something to you, it's better stay the way I sent it, or it can't get altered. If that, or if it does, then the integrity is no good. And availability is, if I say it's supposed to be up 100%, then it needs to be up 100%. If at any given time anything in that triad is broken, then all security is broken.
Wait. So, but that's not what CIA stands for, though, right? That's just
no. You're talking about CIA. You're talking about you're talking about the alphabet. You're talking about the alphabet boys over there.
Okay. I'm like, what? Okay.
We're talking about the foundation of cybersecurity. You're talking about the people who are probably listening to this conversation.
Yeah.
Devin, thanks so much for your time, man. Let us know how we can support you moving into this year and in the next year. What's on your radar? What stuff we should keep an eye out for?
Again, you can support by just doing what you're doing here, wherever you're watching. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, wherever I have Facebook, follow me there. If you're in the Sewanee, Georgia, or Atlanta, you can come up to Alpha Esports and Technology, 1300 Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, Suite 3109, Sewanee, Georgia. Shoot me a message. I'm typically an open book, so just don't ask me about my personal life. but other than that, just again, I appreciate y'all for having me. Again, it's been an honor, been a pleasure. Like I said, we could do this all whenever. Have me back whenever. This is fun to me. But yeah, like I said, you could just follow me wherever you're watching. Like I said, if you're in the area, come through and just be on the lookout and support, man. Like nothing, it costs nothing. It costs nothing to share a post. It costs nothing to just give some words of affirmation, and it costs nothing to speak well about someone when they're not in the room. Doesn't always have to be about money, but if you want to do that, I'll accept that too.
How close is your center to Georgia World Congress Center? Because I know DreamHack.
It's about a good 40-45 minutes.
Okay. Good so, all right, Mario. How can people support you? What you got going on coming up?
Yeah, so at Painful Profits, because our profits can be painful, but that's Painful Profits. Then of course, our website, our estate planning website, almost 200 now estate plans created. So we're rocking and rolling. The Relaxed Estate, therelaxedestate.com. AI powered estate planning. You can't beat it. So that's me in a nutshell.
Excellent. And then next week we have a special guest, rising star, rock star in the game development space, high schooler. So I have to double check to get the sign off from their parents before they join us on the show. But definitely want you all to tune in next week to hear about the brilliance of the next generation of game developers. So we will see you next Thursday, July 4th. Celebrate the country's independence, which isn't 100% align with necessarily Black independence, but it's still great to celebrate, right? You got to celebrate and acknowledge where we're going and where we need to go. So it's a time for reflection, just like Juneteenth. With that said, we appreciate all of y'all's support. We'll see you again next week. Oh, Mario's got something.
It was a funny meme. They said, Kendrick Lamar, Juneteenth, Drake, July 4th.
On that note, thank you for your support. We will see you again next Thursday to help you